Everybody, Mega Ruler 31 back here for FSi DFS. We have a 7-game day slate for Thursday. Then there's like a weird 3-game night slate. So if you're looking to play the night slate, I don't think we're going to do a video for it. It's kind of weird because FanDuel's night slate starts at 3 today. It's just called a late slate, and they take on the last game that's on DK. Which I think is going to rain out, and combined it with the Cardinals game. And I think the Pittsburgh Cubs game, DK takes the Cardinals Marlins game, the Cubs and Pittsburgh game, and then throws in the 9:40 Rangers and Seattle game in a slate. No other concerns there. I think if you're looking for pitchers, go with Lopez from Miami and Marco Gonzalez from Seattle. Like stacking the Cubs with someone else from Seattle and maybe Miami to round it out. But it's all you really need to know about the late slate. But you have a really nice day slate today, 7 games. There is a weather concern. I do not think that what's going on with Oakland. It has turned into like the Amazon rainforest recently with rain out there. It's just absolutely crazy in California. But it looks like a 90% chance of rain all during the day. You might see something funky where they move it to night, maybe DK or FanDuel, and adds it to night slate. I didn't really look at the weather to see if it's going to be better earlier or later, but I'm not touching that game. I think Blackburn potentially could be a decent pitcher, but there's other options, same price range. I know it's a good matchup against Baltimore, but just kind of crossing that game out. So let's just talk about this as a 6-game slate. So just quickly going through the games here, you have the White Sox and the Cleveland Guardians. Still struggle with that one. Dylan Cease has got to be the top player on the slate. I know Cleveland has been hitting well recently, and I know Cleveland blew up Keiko yesterday, but I don't think it's going to happen today. Cease has been a really good pitcher this year. I think he goes out there, he's well worth the 10K, and I think he's where you start in your cash lineups there. Please look on the other side. I think is okay for a mid-range pitcher, but I kind of like the White Sox against him more here. Next game would be San Francisco and the Mets. Really not a great hitting environment. The wind's blowing out like 60 miles per hour to left field, but it's still going to be like 58 degrees there. It's almost the same conditions in Chicago and Cleveland. The wind's blowing out to right field there, but also 58 degrees. It really doesn't change anything for that game for me. DeSclafani, he's really good in spring training, but really his first couple starts haven't been great. So I think he's okay against the Mets, but I think I want to see a little bit more before I pitch him. Carrasco's had a really good start too. It's been kind of weird because the splits have kind of neutralized there. He's been actually better against lefties than righties, but I just think that it's early. It's an early sample size. 9.8 is way too expensive. I think San Francisco can hit. Like I said, it's not the greatest hitting environment, but I think out of all the high-priced pitchers, I think he'd be like the 4th in line. I think both these pitchers I want to wait and see on, and both these teams could be good GPP stacks, but I don't really like them in cash. Next up, we have the Yankees in Detroit. The weather actually looks good there today. I think the Yankees are going to be top stack on the slate against Michael Pineda. He was good back in the day when he was the Yankee, but he just really has fallen now. I think pricing on the Yankees is actually not really that bad either. Like Rizzo's only 4.3. You have Gallo at 3.5. I mean, if you think that this is the day that he actually gets out there and hits, I mean, that's a great price for them. If he goes off, you're going to have a good bargain there. Montgomery at 6.9. Start the season, he's been a little bit shaky, but Detroit, I think, can help him also get right also. A lot of strikeouts in this lineup, even though it's primarily a right-handed lineup. I think he'll be fine against it. So point per dollar, I think he's the best play on the slate if you're looking to pay down for pitching, but I'd rather, I think, pay up today just with the other options that are there. Detroit bats could potentially be a cheap or leverage stack, but other than that, not super excited there. I think Cabrera is looking at his first 3,000 hit, so I think they go on the road after this. So if you're looking for a narrative and you want a first baseman one off there, because the world's probably going to play Rizzo in this matchup, and his price point, or Vlad, just because everybody likes playing him. I think he could be a sneaky play there. Boston Red Sox and Toronto Blue Jays in Boston. Again, wind blowing out 14 miles per hour into left field, so might be conducive for right-handed hitting there. But the Blue Jays, Springer got injured out of the game. I don't know if he'll be there. We might see Tapia lead off. Zach Collins is disappointing because I thought he'd hit yesterday, but he got the day off. But he might be back catching. Really good price at 2.7, batting fifth. Love him there if he's in that spot. So I think Gausman is probably going to be my second favorite pitcher here today. The Red Sox have struck out recently. They just really haven't hit. They really haven't put together like they did in spring training to start the season. So I think that he can go out there, have a good game. Toronto bullpen should be able to keep the lead. And I think that they get the win there, and he does well. Hawk on the other side, maybe. I like Montgomery better in this price range, but I think there's some potential there, especially if Springer's not in the lineup. Toronto is they played a lot of games recently. I think they've got a lot more coming up too. So I think it's a pretty long stretch for them. So if they're resting some of the other guys, I mean, you're still missing a Tino Hernandez who's injured. So there's some opportunity here. But so maybe in a GPP, he'd be a good cheap SP2 there. For stacking, I don't think, especially with Springer out of the lineup, I think maybe I'll take pieces of Toronto. I don't know if I really want to stack them today. Boston, I think would be a good GPP stack, or maybe even a leverage stack if a lot of people are going to play Gausman there. But I think, I'd rather take the Yankees or the White Sox over both of them if I'm paying up for a stack today. Minnesota and the Royals, Joe Ryan, Tampa Bay prospect who came over in a trade and is to have a really good start to the season against a Kansas City team who is not having a good start to the season. Overall, rather disappointing. I thought, they would be a really good team, but haven't got it going. Against Zach Greinke, who's got, I think, one strikeout in 2 games, like really has no velocity. He's turned into like an older pitcher. He doesn't really get blown up, but I think maybe today, potentially that could change. Wind blowing at 9 miles per hour, weather looks good. Maybe a little bit of rain towards the end of the game, but I think they get everything in before, maybe just a light mist or something before that. No big deal. 70 degrees there, so that's one of the warmer spots on the slate to look at. I think I like Minnesota again as cheap bats here. I think I like Ryan as probably my third favorite pitcher there. I think he'd be my top pitcher in a GPP. And the Royals, I think it would be a leverage stack because I think if people play Ryan, but other than that, maybe some pieces of them, but just as a stack, they just have not been. They have a 3.88 run total, so I'm not super interested there. But I do love the cheap pricing on some of these Minnesota bats again to try to make your Yankee stack work. Like I said, Baltimore and Oakland, I'm kind of crossing that game out there. I'm not really interested in that. And Arizona and the Nationals, I think maybe I was wrong on FanDuel where I said earlier that they added in the Cubs game. I think they put Arizona and Washington, and I think the final game of their slate is the 6:40 St. Louis and Miami game. But still, again, it's just weird that the two sides can't get things together, but I guess it does make it nice because it spreads out different times. So if you have to work or have responsibilities and can't play one slate, you can play on the other side. So final game, Arizona and Washington wouldn't touch either pitcher here. Zach Davies, I think, is the worst pitcher on the slate. Josh Rogers has been okay, but I do think some of the right-handed power bats against him, like Carson Kelly or Walker there, or Beers if he's in the lineup, could definitely have a good day. And then Washington, I think, is my second favorite stack next to the Yankees. So pitching wise, like I said, Cisse up top, Gossman or Ryan, probably SP2, Carrasco, I'm skeptical in that range. The mid-range don't really love here. Blackburn, I think rained out. Discofani and Plesac, I've got questions on. Montgomery, I think solid point per dollar one. Houck really interests me, especially if the Jays lineup continues to get watered down through injuries and attrition. There may be some rest. Wells, I'm not touching with the rain. Rogers, no thank you. And definitely out on Pineda, who's got a low pitch count. Greinke, who can't strike anybody out. And Davies, who is just really bad. So top stacks would be New York, Washington, the White Sox, Toronto, depending on what they throw out there. I really like some of the pieces of Toronto. GPPs, Boston, Mets, and San Francisco, because pitching could be good, the pitching could be bad there. And cheap Minnesota, Arizona, Oakland, but again, don't think it plays. Detroit potentially. And then leverage plays Kansas City, Cleveland, and Baltimore. So let's look at some lineups and get you on your way for the day. So first up, like I said, I'm going to take Cisse as my pitcher. Then I'm going to see if I can get Gossman in. If not, I might drop down to Ryan. If I can't do that, then Montgomery would probably open up some salary there. I think Collins from the Blue Jays would be my favorite SP1. Then Higgy to wrap around the Yankees stack there, even though it's against a righty. I think he'll be fine. And then Jefferson, I believe, probably would start for Minnesota, or Jeffers. And he's, I think, minimum price, and Baboon might be minimum price also. Even if you play Montgomery, he's fine at 2K if you're playing that. Love Rizzo at first, Donaldson at third, Judge and Stanton there. Then decide if you want to play Hicks or one of the cheap Minnesota guys. And then you can fill in with other Minnesota pieces or really cheap pieces. There's a lot of decent ones. I've been punting shortstop all season, so there's actually some decent cheaper plays for there. And then you can use your Sala like second, or Cesar Hernandez from Washington there, or if there's somebody else you like as a one-off, that works too for you. It all depends on who your SP2 is, how much money you have left there. For my second stack, like I said, start with Ryan, and then decide if you want to go with a higher price pitcher there or Montgomery. Release, if you want to pay up catcher, that's fine. Use Collins, Jeffries, some other guy there. Bell from Washington is questionable. He's having an MRI on his hamstring. So if he's not in, just pick a one-off there that you really like. Sheets for Chicago White Sox might be a good choice there with splits advantage, or some other guys for space usually has, or just play Rizzo in both cash and GPP. I think that's decent there. Like I said, Miguel Cabrera looking for, I believe, his 3,000th hit. It's another place there. Cesar Hernandez at second. Soto in the outfield. Nelson Cruz, he's hitting like under 200, just I think barely over 100. So I'd rather have Hernandez there, who's hitting like 360. So I might take him over Cruz there. It gives me a little bit more salary. And then in here, I can fill in a cheap third baseman like Urshela, and then take like maybe Anderson and Robertson from the White Sox, or, take Burchett and a Blue Jay, or just fill in one off. So I think that's where I'm going in this GPP build here. But Washington is going to be the primary stack that I'm going to build around for GPP. So Mega Ruler 31 for FSi DFS. Thank you for watching. If you want more information on FSi DFS, go to the description. Our link to Discord and our information on our site is down there. So, and then if you have any questions, put the comments below. Hit me up at Twitter at MegaRuler31, and we'll be back tomorrow with another video, and good luck today.